Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, number one independent fan channel dedicated to Manchester United. On today's show, I'm going to be discussing a number of things, including the match last night, Eric Ten Hag's progress so far and his comments from the game, another five-star performance from Casemiro. We're going to talk about that. And is Jack Butland going to be our second choice keeper? Well, according to reports from Laurie Whitwell, Simon Stone, a lot of credible journalists, he will be next in line to be our number two goalkeeper. And that could possibly be our first signing of January. Not the signing we expected. Of course, we expected Cody Gakpo, but this is United for you, isn't it? This is how Manchester United operate in the transfer market. So it's looking like Jack Butland could possibly be our next number two goalkeeper. So yeah, initially we had planned for Aaron to be on, but we had some technical issues. So I'm flying solo. I'm flying solo. So if you guys can make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video, and get involved in the comment section, I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to dive straight into the topics and discuss that. But first, before I do that, I need a drink because my throat's absolutely killing. So, the game last night, I was there. I was sitting in the quadrant watching it and was actually lucky enough to see Casemiro's first goal, which is obviously in the first half. And even just watch Casemiro. You know what? In fact, I'm going to touch on Casemiro a little bit later on. I want to talk about the game in general and going into that game. How did I feel prior, seeing the lineup, the changes that were made? We obviously had Harry Maguire come in. We had Victor Lindelof at the back. We had Wan-Bissaka at right back and Luke Shaw at left back. So essentially, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's back four that he had for a long period of time, which was unsuccessful. So a little bit nerve-wracking when I saw that back line. I'm not going to lie, but it was Bournemouth. So if you're going to take a risk with that defence in that game, that's the game that you do that on. And the midfield, as always, what do we have? Casemiro, Eriksen, but we had Donny van der Beek starting at number 10, who obviously came off with a bad injury, which doesn't look great. Could be out for 4 to 5 months. So that is unfortunate for him because I don't think he played bad, but I don't think he played great. He was all right. It was, as soon as would say, or what he said about Casemiro, he was a bit of a steady Eddie, but he was all right. He didn't do bad. He didn't do, amazing. It's a shame that he's got injured because we need a depth at the minute as well. And then when seeing Bruno Fernandes on the right-hand side, Marcus Rashford and Martial, I really don't like Bruno on the right. I think he's just wasted there a bit. I know he didn't really stick to that position. He was kind of free roaming. And that was one thing I noticed about the front line. There was a lot of kind of interchanging. It was, Rashford was going in the middle, then he was going to the left, then he was going to the right. Bruno likewise, and then Martial was dropping deep into midfield. And there was a lot of rotation and fluidity there. And I think that's how Ten Hag likes his system. He likes people being having variation to the game, which again is another thing I'm going to discuss on. Individually, were there any performances that worried me? Not really, no. I thought Luke Shaw got a lot of praise, and rightfully so. Is again, I'm going to touch on the goal in a second, and what he did for that goal. And most of the game, he was really good. But from watching from my side, especially in the second half, the back line was in front of me, so I was noticing little nuances in the game that he was messing up on. And Luke Shaw, especially on his left hand side, I can't remember who was playing on the right for Bournemouth, but they relentlessly kept getting in on that side, and you could just notice it. And he was like, I don't know if it was because he was tired or whatever it was, but I remember saying to my mate at the time, I was like, Ten Hag needs to replace him with Malacia because he looks like he's knackered, and he keeps getting lapse of concentration going forward. Sam picks up on it all the time. When we do shows, he notices it about Luke Shaw, and it is something in his game that he needs to refine because even though we won 3-0 and he played really well, them little things in the big games, teams can literally get back into the game just by them little things, by getting in behind, maybe scoring a goal. So it's nitpicking, I accept that, but it is something that he needs to look at because I notice it quite a lot. Vincent Bullock in the chat, pick up yourself, Vincent, a regular on the show. If you've got any questions you want to throw into me, more than welcome to, and let me know what you thought of the game yesterday as well. Daniel Raj in the chat as well. Big up Dan and Dan Football Frenzy as well. So appreciate all the support and the love constantly show. Make sure you smash a like on the video as well. And yeah, there was again, on individuals, the standout guys for me, Casemiro, I mean, just fucking sensational, man. I've got my own little bit about Casemiro later on, which I really do want to dive into his performance. He was great. Rashford, I wouldn't say overall was an amazing game. He was all right, but again, got his goal in flying form at the minute. Marshall again was one of those who was a little bit quiet for me. Didn't really make an impact. Again, was had some nice footwork on the ball, dribbling, linking up play, and then as Vincent Bullock says there, Bruno was poor. He was. I saw Statman Dave put something on Twitter with all his stats saying created chances, blah blah blah, etc. etc. Don't let stats conflict your thoughts on what you see on the eye as a performance, because he wasn't great at all. There was so many like passes that he'd do, like basic passes that are just like 5 yard passes, and he just that didn't have enough power on him. And then the decision making was a bit weird at times. He'd get a bit like not aggressive on the ball, just like lacked composure at times. And I was thought, yeah, Bruno was a bit disappointing yesterday. And he's very hot and cold at the minute. Sometimes he'll put in a really good performance, sometimes he won't. Luckily enough, others are kind of stepping to the plate, and we saw that with Casemiro. Casemiro, sorry, I did get it wrong, Joseph Jack. I did pronounce it wrong there. Casemiro, excuse me, was just you look how he was on the ball, just absolute there, worlds apart. But again, it goes back to the Marcus Rashford just getting the goals every single game. Scored 4 goals now in 4 consecutive games for the first time in his career, in the form of his life. Long may it continue, because if we all remember last season, he was at the absolute depths of despair, mate. Like he was. I remember watching the Europa League interview that he did after the final, where he's got his mask on, his hair's quite long, and he's like, "Look, I could go in that dressing room now, show you everyone who's fighting for the club, everyone who's doing this, whatever, blah blah blah." And if you remember at that point, like everything was just so toxic, and especially the Rangnick as well, where like no one really knew what was going on. There was no real plan. There was there was like 10 players leaving the club, so their heart wasn't in the best interest. You had Lingard, Cavani, Mata, Matic, all these guys leaving, Pogba included as well, and there was no connection, there was no plan for the future, there was just nothing to work towards. So everyone was kind of in it for themselves, and Rashford kind of fell into that bracket. And then it was just like his performances on the pitch were nowhere near good enough. He's completely revived himself now. I think he's got 7 goals. I think he's fifth top scorer of the Prem at the minute. I might be wrong on that. I think he's joined fifth on 7 goals. You've obviously got Erling Haaland, who's at the top there, absolutely above, clear of everyone else. But that's not to say that Marcus Rashford isn't having a good season. He's doing really, really well, and long may that continue. And with this game, it was important to get them. It was really important to get them 3 points last night, because, as we know, Tottenham got beat by Aston Villa. At the time, Newcastle and Arsenal were playing. They both dropped points because they drew. Chelsea dropped points to Nottingham Forest. City dropped points to Man City. So it's very rare in a calendar where you have that many teams, where basically every single team that are around you dropped points. And we, for the first time in however long I can remember, actually capitalized on that and got the 3 points. And we are now, I think we're level on points with Newcastle, but with a game in hand on top of that as well. So it's a good position to be in for the new year. It's a great start to the new year. And yeah, I think it was kind of what everybody expected, that performance last night. Everyone was saying, and all the predictions I was seeing, at least anyway, were all 2-3-0, 4-0. Like there was a lot of people positive about that. And that's because the work that Ten Hag's currently doing. He is a phenomenal coach, and he's doing bits, and he is doing really, really well. And every decision that he has made has been spot on. And obviously our next 2 games, we've got Arsenal and Man City, haven't we? So I think that's the real test. I'm not going to go singing from the hills and saying like, oh, we've beat Bournemouth, so we're going to challenge for a title. We're going to do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Our last 3 games against teams at the bottom of the table, near enough. I think Bournemouth are 15th, Wolves are 17th or 18th, and Forest are pretty much bottom of the table. So you're expected to beat these teams. I know we haven't done under Rangnick or Ole previously, and that's a good thing that we've come out of them games with 3 points in every single one and a clean sheet. But it's important to provide perspective, because when we come up against the next 2 teams that we've got in the Premier League, Arsenal and Man City, both teams who are above us, that's where the major impact can be made. And I think most people, I don't know what you guys think in the chat, but you would take a draw against Arsenal and City, right? Considering how we're performing against the other teams. And I think that would keep us in good stead for the top 4 then. That's what I'd take personally. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm a lot more optimistic going into that City game than I was in the last one when we got beat 6-3. Because even City have had a bit of a wobble. Like I said, they dropped points to Everton, so they can be got at. And we've obviously got Casemiro in there now, who, is different to McTominay, who we played against him. So it's a lot of personnel in the team now. We were starting to pick it up. We rested Varane and Lissandro, which is a great thing. So they've had a game apart. Obviously, Lissandro got his praise and stuff when he came on with his World Cup medal, which was great to see. So yeah, I think the game, love that 3-0 win, clean sheet. You can't really ask for more, to be honest. Saw Ten Hag's comments, which I'm going to get into in a second, but I just want to speak about Ten Hag in general first, because I've seen a couple of stats that would just be like, whoa. I was like, oh my God. So, we'll start with Ten Hag, and then I'll dive into the comments after the match, because I thought some of the comments were interesting. So, there's a win percentage after the first 25 games at the club. And so Eric Ten Hag is first. This is in the Prem out of all the top managers. Eric Ten Hag is first with 72% in the first 25 games. Tuchel's got 68%. Guardiola 56, Arteta 56, Klopp 52, and Conte 52. So he's in some good company there, and he's at the top of that list after the first 25 games in terms of win percentage, which shows, it shows he's firing at the minute on all cylinders. And not necessarily with we've got a good squad, but we lack depth, and the striker situation isn't the best at the minute. We look at all the other teams, their attacking options that they've got, fantastic. And then there was another one. So wins in the first 25 games as a manager of Manchester United. Eric Ten Hag has 18. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had 16. And when you consider the bounce that he had when he first came in, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the run that he went on, again, it's still impressive as well for Eric Ten Hag. Mourinho and Moyes had 14. Louis van Gaal and Sir Matt Busby had 12. And Rangnick and Sir Alex Ferguson had 10 wins in the first 25 games, which then, when you look at that, you're like, well, it doesn't really have any significance, because Sir Alex Ferguson was one of the greatest managers ever, and he had 10 wins in his first 25 games as a manager. But lots of things have changed since then. You have sort of less time to hit the ground running in this day and age now, the way football works. So, and there's a lot more pressure with social media, etc. So I think he's done extremely well. 18 wins in the first 25 games, especially the team that he's taken over as well was Dross. I know we've invested 200 million, but it's still, some of the players are there. We've played Maguire in numerous games, Lindelof in numerous games, McTominay in a lot of the games. Like, we haven't always had the options that we needed. Fully fit players who's playing injured. Martial was injured until December, pretty much. Like, we had the Ronaldo situation. So, all them variables considered, I think Ten Hag's done fucking fantastic in his first 25 games in charge. You've seen a philosophy. You've seen what kind of football he wants to play. You've seen the decision making that he's got it right with Rashford turning up late, Ronaldo, Garnacho's attitude situation, the captaincy with Harry Maguire. Like, the list is endless. He's got every decision absolutely spot on, and that is a sign of a very good manager, a very, very good manager. He's just made all the right decisions. And just look at us as a team, like fluid transition, build up play great, inverted fullbacks, a DM adding that stability, giving us a platform to play off. But one thing I have noticed is the versatility within the squad. If you look at what Pep does with City, with Foden, Bernardo Silva, who can play in the midfield and they can play on the wings. You've got Nathan Ake, John Stones, who could play as wing backs or as centre backs. And we've seen Rashford and Bruno Fernandes play all across the front line this season. We've seen Casemiro play in midfield and play at centre back. We've seen Malacia play on both sides, right back, left back. We've seen Luke Shaw recently play at centre back and for a couple of games and do extremely fucking well, and then move back into left back as well. So in doing that, you keep the squad a lot more happier because they're trying different positions. They might get more game time in doing that. So, for example, Lisandro Martinez is out for the Barcelona game in the Europa League due to suspension, I think. So having Luke Shaw as an option in that back line, as a left-footed option at centre-back, which we know is important for Ten Hag, open passing lanes, etc., stuff like that, and just for the balance of possession, it's nice to have them options. And then Luke Shaw gets an extra game then because he's versatile, etc., etc. So it works well for the squad, I believe. That's why Pep Guardiola does it quite a lot. So squad's looking good. Players performing really well. Fans, every single fan, or at least every fan I've spoken to or seen commenting, are on Ten Hag's side. Going to be interesting to see what happens with the ownership, of course, when they come in. Are they going to invest a lot of money? I'm expecting them to. So you give Ten Hag. I saw a comment before on our TikTok. Make sure you follow that, by the way, Real Reds Talk. But I saw a comment on that before that said Ten Hag is working in. You know what? Let me get it up because I saw it and I was like, that is such a good fucking comment. He said Ten Hag is working with something. Where? Let me find it. Yeah, where we at? Where we at? I'm not gonna be able to find it now, am I? Oh yeah, Ten Hag just delivered this from a scrapyard. Imagine what he can do from a gem store. I love that comment. I love that because if he has competent owners, competent leaders at the top who set up a sufficient scouting network and have everyone from top to bottom up to Ten Hag, the best in the world or the best in football. Let's say, for example, imagine what he could do. He's doing this now with clowns like Murtagh and Arnold in charge, the same people who flew to Turin to sign Rabiot and then got sent back by his mum, or flew to Barcelona a couple of times to try to get De Jong and couldn't bring him back on the plane. These guys are idiots. So I think as soon as we bring in people at the very top level, directors, sporting that all the way down until Ten Hag, and we get a proper infrastructure, I think we'll be absolutely flying in a couple of years' time. I'm super optimistic under Eric Ten Hag. And I've got some quotes here from Ten Hag as well, which are interesting, which is obviously in regards to the game more so than ownership and stuff. But he says, we have to go from game to game. The next is a cup, but we want to win every game. That has to be the approach. We don't want to look any further, focus on that. It'll be a tough game. We need every energy and preparation. And when we kick off on Friday night, and now this is because we have a very congested fixture list coming up. Everton in the FA Cup, Charlton in the Carabao Cup. Then you're looking at City and Arsenal in the Premier League, and Europa League will be coming up soon. So you're playing a game every 3-4 days. It's so important to have everyone in the squad playing at the top level because when one drops out, you don't want to see that drop off. I don't believe we saw that last night, but I believe that was because we was against Bournemouth. So it's not highlighted it as much. I think if you put Lindelof and Maguire into a City game or an Arsenal game, that's when you'll really notice it. So I think that's why Ten Hag kind of did that last night to kind of give him a break and then they're ready to come back into the big games then. Which you understand, don't you? Absolutely, from a fan perspective. He also said we scored great goals and should have more. We could have conceded two, but great saves from David De Gea. I'm not happy with that. It is something we have to avoid. And I love that quote because it's setting the standards. I remember back when, if we had a good performance under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it'd be like, the rain is golden and there's rainbows when you wake up. And it was all nice and nice. And he'd be a bit shy to criticise after a game, even if he won. He'd want to keep everything all positive and happy. And I get it to a certain extent, but there is reality in a victory when it's something like before that I was talking about with Luke Shaw, lapses of concentration. They kept getting in behind. And in certain games, they will punish you with that. They'll get back into the game through their little situations. So you have to nip them in the bud, or as Adam would say, nip it in the butt. And once you iron out them deficiencies, whatever you want to call them, that's when you can go from strength to strength and get better and better every single game. So Ten Hag is keeping the standards right up here and not letting them slip. And that goes with discipline, that goes with performances on the pitch. It's the whole culture that he's setting there. And that was one thing that he always spoken about when before he came in. He was like, it's the dressing room, the culture. That needs to be you need to have leaders in there as well who are running it for you, like Ferguson had with Roy Keane. I think Ten Hag has his disciples in there now with Lissandro, Casemiro, Varane, Bruno Fernandes, all these guys. You're getting a core there. You're getting a spine of a team who are working really, really well. And they're going out there and delivering, let's be honest. Like some of the stats, I had some stats before. I can't remember where I've put them. I'll get into them in a second, but I've got some stats on the performances, like clean sheets, etc. We're doing really, really well. But I want to talk about Casemiro. I've been trying to hold it off as much as I can. But I want to talk about Casemiro. Sorry, not Casemiro. Oh, my throat is dry as fuck. It's killing. So, Casemiro, I saw a video last night. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. Outside the Emirates, a lot of Arsenal fans talking about Partey's better than Casemiro and he's clear of him and all this kind of shit. And I, for one, as Neymar said, Casemiro has been the best midfielder in the world for a while right now, or at least in the conversation of top three. You're talking at the minute. I don't know who you throw in there. Everyone has kind of a personal preference. Is it Rodri you're a massive fan of? Is it Kimmich you're a massive fan of? Casemiro, Fabinho at a certain point. Kante, obviously, when he was fit and firing, is in that conversation. But as of right now, I challenge you lot to name me, even if you're not United fans tuning in now, because I'm going to put this out as a clip as well. I challenge you to name me one better defensive midfielder than Casemiro at the minute and come with a valid argument, because there isn't one. There really isn't one. He's absolutely unreal. And 1 second. Oh, fucking hell. And just watching him firsthand live at Old Trafford, it was such a pleasure. That he gets a great goal. He anticipates the cross from Eriksen, gets a touch to it, top corner, blows the kiss to our fans in the section where we was at in the quadrant. His first touch passing was some of the best I think I've ever seen, and that includes watching Paul Scholes live. He's one point where he intercepts it with his chest. He like breaks it up, and on the first time hits like a volleyed pass to Garnacho on his weak foot. Like it was just effortless. Like it was just like waking up in the morning for him and having a bowl of cereal. It's just easy for him. Super easy for him. Left foot, right foot, no mither whatsoever. Important interceptions, reads the game incredibly well. And even for me, in hindsight now, looking at it, because obviously everybody knows on this channel, if you watch this channel regular, you know I wanted Frankie de Jong so much. I was badgering United to get him for ages. We was linked with him for 12 weeks. It was a big transfer saga of the summer, and we end up fluffing that deal up. But in hindsight now, you look at what Casemiro's done since he's come in. Could De Jong have done better? I don't think De Jong can do that role on his own. Imagine a midfield, De Jong, Eriksen, and Bruno. I don't think that would work. No way near as much. Like Ten Hag said, Casemiro is the cement between the stones, and we are very lucky to have him because he never really got the praise he deserved at Real Madrid because obviously their midfield, they had a Ballon d'Or winner in there, Luka Modric, and they had Toni Kroos, who's fantastic as well. So he did all the screening for them two guys and never really got the plaudits he deserved for his ability on the ball and stuff. But now you watch him now, how simple and effortless and how quick he is on the ball when he gets it and his reading of the game. He's the best in the world. He is the best in the world right now. And our core, our spine is completely different now. We've got David De Gea, who's back in form. Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane, both World Cup winning centre-backs as a pairing. You've got Casemiro, a 5-time Champions League winning DM in midfield, who's the best in his position right now. And then you have Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, each side of him, who are quality, creative players. Where we lack is, if Dalot and Luke Shaw are fit, I'm absolutely fine with that. But where we lack is the top areas, the wingers and the attackers. That needs to be a situation where we know as United fans, we want Lisandro and Varane at the back, right? We know we want De Gea in net. We know Dalot and Shaw are the best options that we've got in a minute at wing backs. And maybe Malacia can push up into that category, but not right now. We know Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno is the best midfield. McTominay and Fred aren't making it in there at all. Or Donny van de Beek. Like, I'm sorry, he's not. But then attacking wise, like Rashford, is he best for the middle? Is he best on the left? Well, he's playing his best football at the minute on the left-hand side, so you keep him there. Martial's very in and out. He's getting goals and assists in terms of his contributions per minute. It's okay, but he's not lighting a game up. I'm not watching Martial's performances in the past couple of games and being like, he is fucking playing sensational, like I am with Casemiro, all that. And these standards need to be high for especially for a Manchester United striker. And I think this is Martial's next couple of months to really prove that because he isn't doing it for me at the minute. I don't mind him as a second option, but I don't want him as I don't know what you guys think. I'll put a poll up in a second on here, but I don't want him as the main number 9 going into next season. Just my personal opinion. And then the right-hand side, Antony brought in for a lot of money, 85 million. Started off really well. Dipped a little bit now. Thought the last 2 games he was pretty terrible. His his passing, his shooting, his dribbling hasn't been on it at all. So then does Sancho come back from that individual program? Does he get a spot back there? But then you need Antony, a left-footed on the right-hand side. You need him keeping the width. It works for tactical reasons. So then you're kind of in a bit of a conundrum there with the attacking options. And that is something we need to focus on. And it will be focused on in January. We'll probably end up getting a loan. Hopefully, Al Felix or something like that. Probably a Memphis Depay, if I'm being honest. Saw Laurie Whitwell tweet that the other day. And then the summer is where we really focus and we go invest heavily, like we did with Casemiro, in the attacking spot. Go spend 80, 90 million or 70 to 80 million, whatever, on a really good striker. Who that'd be, fuck knows. Anyone could pop up in the summer. They could have a great season and we go get him and get him. He's got the right age profile, 20 to 21, and bang, we go get him. Because I discussed this with Sam and Severe on a show previously. When we've bought strikers, I think about 90% of them in the past 10 years have been over 30. Igalo on loan. You think about that. Radamel Falcao, Ibrahimovic, Cavani, Ronaldo. Like, the only ones I can really think of is Lukaku. Didn't really work out, did it? Wasn't a long-term kind of option. We need to buy, as much as it kills me, and I know a lot of people don't like him, someone like a Darwin Núñez, got the right age profile, looks like his game needs refining slightly. Maybe he'll end up being like a Tino Werner. I have no idea because he can't hit a barn door at the minute. Maybe he'll refine that and people are like, whoa, that's a world-class player. You look at the hybrid strikers like fucking Erling Haaland, who can do it all. His pace set, his physical, can get his head on the ball. All-around game's fantastic. We need someone of that nature who's the good age profile, who we can keep hold of for the next 5-6 years. Because even then, if you invest 100 million, whatever it may be, you get a return on him. You'll be able to sell him if you do want to sell him. So the striking position is a super interesting point in a minute, and I'm excited to see who we go and get. But I think it'll be the summer. Well, it will be the summer because we're going to spend about 10 million max for a loan in January. Whether Atletico drop that fee from 20 million to 10 for Yao Felix is yet to be seen. But I don't think they will. I think we'll end up getting a Memphis Depay, like Aaron said, or someone else. I'm not entirely sure. But going back to my original point, the core of the team right now is fantastic. And that's why I think we haven't conceded in 7 games or something ridiculous like that. So, and De Gea is currently second, I think, for the Golden Glove. So, yeah, defensively, fantastic. But we've got tough tests coming up in Arsenal and Man City. So, again, interesting to see how we work with that. Vincent Bullock says, am I going Friday night? I'm not going to the game Friday night. No, I'm unwell at the minute. So, yeah, I won't be going to the game, but I'll certainly be watching. I'll be doing a watch along for it. Is it Friday, 8 o'clock? I think something like that. Yeah. Same team Friday, just Scott instead of Donna. Yeah, I do think Scott McTominay will start. I think Fred might start as well, to be honest with you. And they might rest Eriksen or Bruno. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe push Eriksen up into that 10 spot. Adam says, I read today Atletico wants 12 to 40 million euro, but United offered 4 million. Yeah, of course they did. Of course they did. If you say 20 million to United, they'll offer 10. If you say 10, they'll offer 2. Like, honestly, we are the worst negotiators. We are near bottom of the league for negotiating in the transfer market. We are absolutely shite. Dog shit. Like, we just cannot operate at all. And I've already spoken about that. I don't want to rant about it too much, but it's something we definitely need to look at. If them new owners come in and they have a look at Murta, Richard Arnold, and the other guys that are running the asylum up top, and they don't make a change, do not trust them owners at all, because they can't look at their previous history, the past however long Richard Arnold's been here, 10, 15 years, and Murta, and go, that's acceptable. That's an efficient way to run a club. What they're doing, it can't happen. Any person knows it. Any United fan knows it. We are run like idiots. The Glazers have given money, but they've given money to clowns and spent it stupidly, and then kept them in charge because they get, they do things certainly for United in terms of revenue and all that bullshit. So that is something that needs to change, absolutely, and I'm hoping that does when new owners come in and we start buying the right players. And speaking of the right players, is Jack Butland the right player? Because apparently Crystal Palace goalkeeper Jack Butland has been identified as the goalkeeper Erik ten Hag wants to provide competition for David De Gea, and there is hope a deal can be reached. That's coming from Chris Wheeler, Simon Stone and Laurie Whitwell, so you can absolutely take that to the bank. United consider, this is from Laurie Whitwell, this bit, United considered recalling Dean Henderson from his loan at Nottingham Forest, but it is felt the goalkeeper is best served staying there where he is playing regular, which I agree. You don't want a Henderson coming back saying, I was like a boy trapped in a cage. Oh, I don't want to do it to me. You don't want all that nonsense when De Gea is in the form of his life. You want De Gea, number one, absolutely certainty. Number two comes in, you're going to play Europa League or Carabao. Happy, sweet, done. That's all I want as a fan, because De Gea is playing really well at the minute. He made some saves last night where I was just like, oh my God, what the fuck? How has he pulled that out of the bag? And Bournemouth could have scored a couple if it wasn't for him. So, yeah, De Gea, keep him there. And look, this kind of news, I know it's not mega exciting news, but it is important that we get a number two, right? Because we know Dubravka's gone back to Newcastle. What that was for, I have no idea. It's probably one of the weirdest loans we've ever done. Very strange. Only played a handful of games. And the last game he played under the lights at Old Trafford looked very suspicious. So we bring Jack Butland in. Does anyone watch Butland? I'd have to get a Palace fan on just to discuss, because I last time I heard of him, I thought he was still at fucking Stoke. I thought Jack Butland was still at Stoke, and he had that set period. I think he had a couple of caps for England. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's been called up at least a couple of times for England. And he had that period where he looked like a promising goalkeeper, and then you never really heard anything about him for like up until now, basically. So as a number two, I can't really sit there and say, you know, he's going to be great, he's fantastic. Oh, he plays with his feet. I don't have a clue. It's Jack Butland. Like, let's be honest. Anyone who does sit here and say, oh, well, he's this type of keeper, he's got this type of archetype and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, come on. You don't watch fucking Crystal Palace in the Cup notoriously, do you? Come on. Adam says there are areas in the club that they value to the club, like investment and advertising, but these sort of people shouldn't be negotiating transfer deals. Exactly. Ten Hag terminated the loan after watching him playing that in the last. Yeah, probably. He probably just watched that performance, didn't he, at Old Trafford, and thought, yeah. I just whispered to his assistant and was like, Can we go get another one? He's not good enough, this one. And they're like, yeah, we'll terminate his loan. We're on it now. And then pissed off, and then we end up with Jack Butland. So I did see a lot of news on Jan Sommer from a Gladbach. Maybe that's a deal that we're going to do in the summer. Will Jan Sommer want to be a backup goalkeeper at the age he's at in his current position? I don't know. But if we get someone of that quality in as a second goalkeeper, that's as good as when we had Romero. I never understood why we ever let Romero go. It never made sense to me that. He was happy being number two. De Gea was happy being number one. And for whatever reason, it was like everything was going perfect, and they were sat there like, let's fuck something up. Yeah, Romero, we're not going to give a new contract, mate. You want to go, like, blah blah blah, whatever. Like, it's just a weird situation. Never understood why we let Romero go, because he was fantastic as a second choice goalkeeper, and I'd argue that to the hills with anyone. Adam, actually, Nick, do you start De Gea in the Europa League against Barca or start? Yeah, exactly. I ain't starting Jack Butland against Barcelona. Are you mental? Absolutely mental. This is why I'm saying, like, yeah, it's fucking, it's annoying, man. We need a decent one. Jack Butland's all right. He's okay. Like, is he gonna light the world up? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Where's Romero? Can we not re-sign Romero? Like, surely just throw some money at him and just say, come. Well, when the new owners come in, just say, look, Christian. Is it not Christian? What's his first name? I don't know his first name. Could we not just go get him back and just say, look, we'll give you a fucking pension and the lot. You know, we're sorry, we made a mistake. Like, just please be our second choice goalkeeper again. I might even email Romero. We blocked a move to Everton for Romero. Wasn't fair on him. Yep, I remember that. I think he's playing in the Italian league now, isn't he? Something like that. Bring Lee Grant back from retirement. Nope, he can stay in retirement, dipping his shortbreads in his brew. I don't want to see any more of Lee Grant again. Ask Buffon if he wants a 5-year deal. Yeah, that'd be all right, wouldn't it? Bring him back out retire. How old is he? Like 42 now or something. I still think he'd do a fucking fantastic job as a number two. Let's be honest. Gianluigi Buffon, one of the greatest of his generation. What's interesting, 44 years old. Is that how old he is? Wow. Yeah, maybe not then. He's might break his arm if you have a Rashford shoot at him too hard. But let us know in the comment section. Is there anyone you have in mind for a second choice goalkeeper who you would go for? I know it's not the glittering Boca Juniors. That's it. That's who he plays for. Yeah, correct, Adam. Is there anyone in your mind who you would go for as a second choice goalkeeper who you've watched and think, you know what, that'd be all right, that. Won't mind him as, a little backup. Maybe he could start pushing up for a top spot. Um, there isn't anyone who springs to mind for me right now. But Jack Butland wouldn't have been in the conversation for me if you would have asked me prior to this news coming out. So look, but Eric, it says there, the line in that comment there is Ten Hag's has identified the goalkeeper as Jack Butland. That's who he wants. So if Ten Hag wants him, he's got faith in him. I have faith in Ten Hag. I absolutely trust his scouting process. You look at what he did in the summer, the players he recruited, although some of them was a bit mad. Most of them have worked out, aren't they? If we're being honest. And I would trust Ten Hag with my life right now. I'm not even joking. The guy is, when it comes to decision making, he's top king, mate. Top G, dare I say. Bring back Henderson. No, don't want Henderson. Like I said before, he'll come back. He'll be like, oh, they're keeping me in a cage. I don't want to play. I don't want to be second fiddle. I really want to be the first choice goalkeeper. And it's just like, well, no, mate, because David De Gea is performing out of his skin. He's not put a foot wrong. Stop chirping up. Piss off back to Forest, and we'll go get fucking Butland. Can't be asked with Henderson. But like, if he really wants to go play, we get money for him. We get money for Wan-Bissaka. Go spend it on the right back and go get Jan Sommer in the summer. See what I did there? You can have that one for free. Yeah, that I think that concludes the show for today, guys. As I said before, we were supposed to be me and Aaron on today's show, but we had a few technical difficulties behind the scenes and stuff. So, I'm flying solo. But again, everyone who's been in the comment section, everyone who's watching now, or if you're watching later on, thank you for tuning in. Get your comments in. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video, because we are getting closer and closer to 1,000 subscribers. The views on TikTok are absolutely flying. The followers on TikTok are going up. Instagram's flying. Sam's doing a great job over there. Dan's doing a fucking amazing job on Twitter. Like, there's so many good things going well at the minute, and that is because of the people showing love and constant support. So thank you very much for that. We genuinely appreciate it all, and the channel is getting bigger and bigger and better, and that's because of you lot. So yeah, last comment from Dan there: for second goalkeeper, either get less than 21-year-old and give him bench experience, or get 32 plus. Yeah, I agree with that. The more I watch him, the more I want him. Bono looks like a really good keeper in distribution too. Also, being Irish and having Bono on a jersey is a win. Yeah, Adam wanting Bono there for a few reasons. If you don't know Adam, he's a massive fan of U2. So maybe he just wants him because his name's Bono and actually hasn't watched him. But knowing Adam, he would have watched him. He knows his football. So, yeah, again, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you want to follow us on social media for regular updates and clips from the show, all the handles are in the video. I was going to say at the bottom of the graphic then, but I'm doing a solo. So they're not at the bottom of the graphic. They're in the link in the video description. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have a lovely day. And look, we've got Everton next on Friday. We'll have a preview tomorrow night for the game. We'll get a couple of lads on for that. Very interesting time. Still in 4 cup competitions. Could Eric Ten Hag win his first trophy? Let's see. Everton on Friday, 8 o'clock kickoff. We'll have the preview for you guys tomorrow. Make sure you tune in for that. Take care of yourselves. Peace.